This is not just any old weekend, as this was filmed on what is known by us in the West as well as other parts of the world, regarded as Valentine's Day, a concept brought upon by the Romans. I personally do my best to stray away from this concept, but I do recognize the energy and love potency that radiates in the atmosphere, particularly on this given day. Probably more so given the fact that this year, 2025, it's landed on a Friday. A day known energetically as a day in which embodies love, friendship, romance, passion, fertility, birth, commonality, grace, as well as wealth. It is also a day embodied by goddesses such as the goddess Aphrodite, a goddess brought by the Romans, the Norse goddess Freya, whom which the day Friday is actually named after. There's also the goddess of ancient Kemet, now known as Egypt, which brings forth to us the goddess Hathor, as well as the infamous Yoruba goddess Oshun. All of which are goddesses or deities to an inclined pantheon, representing stages, aspects, or versions of the feminine matriarchal force. Such a force that encompasses this notion of love in which we've come to well acquaint ourselves with in a variety of ways. But just as such a force radiates this essence of profound love, indeed, right? Which in essence springs life into being, there is also the other side of the token, that being of war, bringing about death and causing destruction. As abstract as it may sound, it all stems from the very facet of love and our journey back to that very all-loving frequency. Which brings me to Venus, a planetary force in which is the symbolism of this very day known as Friday, the second planet away from the sun, identified as the morning star. Whom else comes to mind who represents this very depiction? Yeshua, tends to be known as Jesus to the masses, as well as, don't be scared, Lucifer. Just like Yeshua, he's also known to be the light bearer, the morning star, and the Son of God, as well as goddess. If you ask me, I'm cognizant of Yeshua and Lucifer to being the same entity, but that's another story for another time. You can read more on my blog if that piques your interest. The link will be down below. Yet, such a force, being the most handsome, the most smartest, honest, yet has been the target for the most hatred, is thus still such a force that does not lose their footing, for they are rooted in the mother and therefore have been revered, even in the midst of all the hatred. Is still subconsciously revered. So you so-called single, free agent, bachelor or bachelorette, lacking of a mate in this stage and dimension of your life, let me ask you, are you not loved? You are that very essence of love herself, a love planted upon you since you were very birth unto this planet in the form of Kundalini energy that's coiled up in the very base of your spine in hopes that you'd awaken her again. She is like Venus, who was housed in the 13th house, only to descend among the others and wage war, all for the name of love. After all, Venus is the planet of not just love and beauty, but that of war as well. She is like Inanna or Yeshua, plummeting below in order to rise again. You've forgotten as the shift from matriarchal to patriarchal occurred. You're like a baby torn apart from your mother's bosom, only to take part and participate in ways that are foreign and are unnatural in the cycles of life. But beloved, you must awaken that Kundalini within and raise her up. You must operate in the true ways of love and get back into natural order, equilibrium, or frequency of the mother, however you want to call it. Lucifer isn't fazed by the constant scapegoating and hatred, for he continues to toil the land of the mother, all based on this facet of love, and therefore continues to have dominion over it. Now, whether you deem him Lucifer or Jesus, it quite frankly doesn't matter. They are both considered the light bearer, the morning star, and were both used as scapegoats. Yet they've risen, and in the grounds of mother have dominion. Are you not as special? You must remember who you are. You must rise. And I, beloved, I am with you till the very end. One love.